हैं, मतलब ओरली ओरली तो हो ही, वो प्लस रिटर्न फॉर्म में हो कि उसको
हाँ
रिविजिट कर सके ट्रेनिंग।
बिल्कुल 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 सही बात।
थोड़ा
हाँ
समय भी चाहिए।
टाइम लेकर किया जाए, कोई जल्दी क्या
हाँ
है, जो काम हो वो बहुत सही ढंग से हो तो ठीक है। टाइम फ्रेम तो मान लो 15 दिसंबर के बाद से शुरू करेंगे, एक बात तो ये हो गई। अब कोर्स कंटेंट की बात हम कर रहे थे कि किन किन इश्यूज को हम लोग टेकअप करें, तो ये बात आशीष जी से हमने कहा फिर बनाते हैं, फिर इस पर डिस्कस करेंगे हम लोग बैठ करके।
नमस्कार सर।
नमस्कार
सर नमस्कार, सर नमस्कार।
नमस्कार नमस्कार।
अरे आप बॉम्बे से आते ही आप बैठ गए। हाँ अभी भी आप बॉम्बे से पहुंचे हैं कानपुर, और चलिए कोई बात
8
नहीं।
तारीख को फिर लौट जाएंगे, 8 तारीख को फिर बॉम्बे लौट जाएंगे।
क्यों, बहुत फ्रिक्वेंट विजिट आना जाना हो रहा है आपका?
नहीं, वो इसलिए है कि यहाँ पे पीपीएन में एक कॉन्फ्रेंस है, सेमिनार है, तो और फिर 12 तारीख को हमारे ग्रैंडसन की एंगेजमेंट है वहाँ पे पुणे में,
ओ
तो इसलिए फैमिली फंक्शन है तो जाना है।
हाँ तब जाना ही पड़ेगा, जाना ही पड़ेगा, जाना ही पड़ेगा। अच्छा कितना समय लगता है आने में बॉम्बे से?
बॉम्बे से हमारी फ्लाइट 1:15 पे उड़ी थी और 3:05 पे आ गई थी यहाँ।
अच्छा अच्छा, लगभग 2 घंटे के आसपास का। तो लखनऊ आती है, कानपुर आ जाती है?
कानपुर।
अच्छा अच्छा, बहुत बढ़िया, बहुत अच्छा। नहीं तब भी आपका
एक आध और काम थे, उनका निपटा के फिर जाएंगे।
नहीं नहीं बहुत अच्छा है, बहुत अच्छा, बहुत बढ़िया।
अब तो कानपुर बॉम्बे ऐसा हो गया जैसे गोरखपुर से कुशीनगर।
बिल्कुल 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 सही बात है, सही बात है एकदम। चलिए अच्छा है, मूवमेंट बना हुआ है तो अपने एनर्जी भी ठीक रहेगी, बहुत अच्छा है। गौली साहब नमस्कार। हेलो सर।
नमस्कार
सर। नमस्कार नमस्कार। यस जस्ट अ सेकंड सर।
ओके ओके।
यस सर नमस्कार।
नमस्कार सर।
हाँ सर नमस्कार, कैसे हैं सर?
बिल्कुल बढ़िया। हाउ आर यू? आप तो दिख नहीं रहे हैं, आप दिख नहीं रहे हैं, तो शायद कैमरा, हाँ
वीडियो ऑन कर ले सर।
हाँ हमने तो किया है, और
वीडियो ऑन किया आपने?
हाँ किया है।
तब फिर क्यों नहीं फिक्र आ रही है? आशीष जी।
जी सर।
जरा देखिए गौली साहब के फोटो
हाँ।
क्यों नहीं आ रही है?
सर के वीडियो में ना वो बन करके आ रहा है।
हाँ ठीक है, ठीक है, अभी हो गया, क्लियर कर।
हाँ ठीक है, ओके ओके ओके। चलिए वेलकम सर, वेलकम ऑन दिस प्लेटफॉर्म। बहुत अच्छा लगा आप
गुड इवनिंग।
एंड यू आर वेरी पर्टिकुलर अबाउट दिस इवेंट, क्योंकि आपने जिस तरह से आपने सब क्वेरीज की, पूछा, जांचा, बहुत अच्छा लगा। और आपके नाम को सजेस्ट किया था प्रोफेसर सक्सेना साहब ने।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल, ही इज आवर मेंटर सर।
हाँ कि आप उनको बुलाइए।
नमस्कार।
नमस्कार सर, नमस्कार।
तो देखिए सक्सेना साहब भी जुड़ गए हैं, ये भी बॉम्बे से ही लौट के आए हैं अभी हाल ही में।
अच्छा,
कुछ देर पहले।
हाँ उनकी फैमिली यहाँ है मुंबई में।
और आपके ने जो जिन 2 लोगों को सजेस्ट किया था,
जी जी,
वो अच्छा दे प्रेजेंटेड वेल, बहुत बढ़िया उन लोगों ने भी प्रेजेंट किया था।
वेरी गुड। ओके।
पूनम शर्मा थी और एक
मेरे
और,
कलीग जी।
हाँ एक और थे, क्या नाम था उनका? पूनम शर्मा
और डॉक्टर रेखा।
हाँ डॉक्टर रेखा बगानी। हाँ अच्छा लोगों ने प्रेजेंट किया था, बढ़िया है।
बहुत अच्छी बात है भाई।
जी।
हाँ भाई, प्रोफेसर रामजी लाल जी, आज
हेलो
कौन कौन
सर।
लगता है?
आज देखे गावली साहब बिल्कुल जुड़े हुए हैं।
आ गए हैं, बहुत बढ़िया।
बिल्कुल
हाँ हाँ, गावली साहब आ गए हैं और
राय साहब आ गए, अमरनाथ जी,
राय साहब आ गए हैं।
और
देखिए सभी
गुरुदेव
लोग आ गए
सक्सेना
हैं।
साहब, सक्सेना
हाँ,
साहब आ
एकदम
गए।
एकदम उपस्थित
चलो
हैं, उपस्थित हैं।
चलो, बढ़िया है, सभी
आ,
उपस्थित हैं। उनको बुला
आगे
लीजिए, सीमा त्रिपाठी जी को, प्रारंभ करें
आ
वो।
जाएंगे, अपने से ही आ जाएंगे, बुलाना क्या है। अरे
हाँ हाँ, आ जाएंगे आ जाएंगे।
आ जाएंगी। और
अभी
थोड़ी
ये,
प्रॉब्लम
हाँ,
नंदा साहब के साथ थोड़ी प्रॉब्लम है।
अच्छा
आज उनका भी सेकंड रखा था।
अच्छा,
हाँ, उनकी वाइफ को बहुत सीरियस प्रॉब्लम हो गई है।
हाँ हाँ, कोई बात नहीं। तो आप ऐसा है, इसको थोड़ा कंटिन्यू कर लो, या अपन एक चर्चा कर लेंगे, अपन 4-5 लोग
नहीं
जो
नहीं, आएंगे वो आएंगे, अभी फोन
आएंगे
किया
तो
था
ठीक है।
उन्होंने।
हाँ, नहीं तो चर्चा
आएंगे।
कर लेंगे, तो
हाँ हाँ, नहीं नहीं।
समय का सदुपयोग हो जाएगा।
हाँ, तो कर ही रहे हैं हम तो, जो नहीं आ रहे हैं तो हम कर ले रहे हैं,
नहीं
लेकिन
नहीं, कर
आएंगे, वो
देंगे।
फोन कर रहे थे कि आएंगे।
नहीं, अच्छी बात है सर, चलो बढ़िया है।
चलिए शर्मा जी, बहुत अच्छा। और समय भी धीरे धीरे हो गया है, तो हम, लगता है सीमा जी ने तो कल कहा था कि हम नहीं आ पाएंगे, लेकिन
अच्छा,
आज के बारे में तो कुछ सूचना नहीं है। लेकिन समय को देखते हुए हम लोग चाहेंगे
अपन
कि
प्रारंभ कर देते हैं, वो आएंगी
प्रारंभ
तो
करते
ज्वाइन
हैं।
कर लेंगी।
हाँ हाँ, उसमें कोई
हाँ,
दिक्कत नहीं है। एक एक मिनट में इसको ज्वाइन करता हूँ। सर शुरू करते हैं।
हाँ, प्रारंभ कर दें सर।
अब हमारा जो कार्यक्रम है वह धीरे धीरे अपने एंड की तरफ बढ़ रहा है, और नित्य की भांति आज फिर हम लोग ठीक 7 बजे उपस्थित हैं अपने इस वर्चुअल लेक्चर प्रोग्राम में। और जैसा कि हम अनुभव करते चले आए हैं कि हम लोग मेंटल हेल्थ के विभिन्न इश्यूज को, विभिन्न टारगेट ग्रुप्स को चयन करके हमने विभिन्न क्षेत्रों के रिसोर्स पर्सन्स को हमने आमंत्रित किया है। और जो अब तक जो भी लेक्चर्स हुए हैं वो किसी न किसी मामले में वो मेंटल हेल्थ इश्यूज को हाईलाइट करते रहे हैं। आज हमारे बीच में एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण व्यक्ति हैं और हमारे बीच में उपस्थित हैं वेल रिनाउंड साइकोलॉजिस्ट और डॉक्टर गौतम गावली जी हैं, जो कि प्रोफेसर और डायरेक्टर हैं एमटी इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ बिहेवियरल एंड एलाइड साइंसेज, एमटी यूनिवर्सिटी मुंबई में। ये पहले हेड ऑफ डिपार्टमेंट थे अप्लाइड साइकोलॉजी में, यूनिवर्सिटी ऑफ मुंबई में जो अप्लाइड साइकोलॉजी डिपार्टमेंट, उसमें आप प्रोफेसर हेड थे। और एक्स ऑनरी डायरेक्टर रहे हैं इंडियन काउंसिल ऑफ सोशल साइंस रिसर्च ICSSR के। और ये वेस्टर्न रीजनल सेंटर जो मुंबई में है उसके वो एक्स ऑनरी डायरेक्टर थे और वो 1988 तक वो डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ फ्लाइट साइकोलॉजी से जुड़े थे। उसके पहले वो मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ लेबर गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया में 83 से 85 तक थे। फिर उसके बाद वो विभिन्न असाइनमेंट को उन्होंने एज्यूम किया और विभिन्न तरह के जो इंटरनेशनल कॉन्फ्रेंसेस थी उसमें उनका प्रेजेंटेशन होता रहा है। तो एक बहुत हाईली एकेडमिक आदमी डॉक्टर गौतम जी हैं और ये हम लोगों का यह एक सौभाग्य है कि कैसे सीनियर पर्सन को हमको सुनने का अवसर प्राप्त हो रहा है। तो अब मैं अधिक समय न लेते हुए मैं प्रोफेसर गावली से मैं अनुरोध करूंगा कि वे हम सबको संबोधित करने की कृपा करें। प्रोफेसर गावली।
Yes, sir. Good evening to all of you. Is my presentation visible to all of you?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, thank you so much. So at the outset, I thank this Community Psychology Association of our country, India, and all the office bearers, and very much presence which can be felt by all of us, our senior colleagues like Professor Sakshana. We all request him, and respect him all, and all other colleagues, and I hope some other people will be joining soon. So at the outset, let me thank Professor Ramlalji for giving me this opportunity to interact with our senior colleagues on this occasion, which you are celebrating Mental Health Month. Okay, and since it started on 10th of October and continues up to 31st of October. So I must appreciate the efforts made by you to contact all the resource persons from various part of country and organized a very interesting deliberation on mental health issue and different perspectives. I'm sure that this efforts which we have made will definitely provide a lot of input to our young scholars, young researchers, those who have started working on their PhDs, MPhil, or even for their publication. And I'm sure this efforts made by you to organize talk on various issues related to mental health. And this subject which we had suggested to me, and in fact, the theme of this webinar, mental health to all, that's something very interesting. And organizations like Community Psychologists Association of India has taken these initiatives to organize this particular webinar. So I will speak for another, say, 25 to 30 minutes, and then we may have some interaction because you're all learned participants here. And this is just like, it's not lecturing, but it's just some points for discussion with various little psychosocial perspective. So I look at this particular aspects from social well-being, and how this social well-being is likely to be affected by some of our the kind of issues which we are facing in our country particularly. So how this issues can be tackled from psychological perspective. If you look at psychology, I'm not teaching all of you, but this is just like, say, if you look at the origin of psychology, why this psychology is created. So psychology's creation will find in pain and sorrow. Okay, so psychology is not for luxury. Psychology is created not for luxury, but it is just and address the issue related to pain and sorrow. So what kind of pain, what kind of sorrow, what kind of discomfort which individual or society in general experience, and then what kind of solutions, what kind of interventions which psychologist, being a social scientist, provide. Because I consider psychologists as a social scientist. And as we all know, social sciences have been created to solve social quest. Like, see, one of a very well-known American social scientist, John Douglas, he stated that social sciences are created to solve social quest. Now, any social quest, particularly in Indian context, or particularly in our context, in social psychology. So our major social quest is social well-being or psychosocial well-being of our society. Okay. So this is what I had in my mind when I was communicating this with our professor Babjilal, when he asked for topic, and then I thought, let me share this ideas with all of you. And while presenting, we also can learn from you, because Professor Saxena, the way he present himself, has been like since last so many decades. Now he has a wonderful social orientation, which we all can learn from him. Okay. And of course, I mean, many of you are present here. You have your own ways of looking at psychosocial aspect or psychosocial well-being of our society. And definitely all have contributed a lot for this. So with this, I proceed ahead with the next PPT. Yeah, am I audible and visible both?
Yes, sir. Very clear, sir.
Very good. Thank you, sir. So this is again one of very well-known keynote speaker, or we can say that person who was very successful in dealing with business issue, Dr. Stephen Covey, and we all are aware about all psychosocial issues sometimes, or all psychologists are aware about his 7 habits. Okay, which I'm not going to go for that particular aspect of 7 habits, but I'm dealing with, see, the kind of life, like compared to other animal species, human species start with dependency. Okay, now I don't have to go for all theoretical foundation of dependency, that how the dependency model or exactly psychological theories, personality theories. Okay, but just we begin our life with dependency, not like other animal species. They become immediately, they can stand on their own leg and start walking. So in case of human being, it is not possible. So dependency, we begin with dependency, then we take steps towards independence. Okay, like when parenting comes, rearing practices comes, or it can be related to even any kind of life sphere where we entered in. Okay, there we actually begins with dependency, then we take steps towards independence, and then the final, what is most important part, if you look at his quotations given by this, or the quotes, which are very interesting to understand, that independence is not supreme. Okay, like many times we say Swavlamban, okay, or Atmanirbharta, it is not supreme. Independence, people who do not have maturity to think and act interdependently may be good individual producers, but they won't be good leader or team player. This is what Stephen Covey said, and it is true to a large extent. Okay, so dependence or independence is not the point where we can stop. We have to go little beyond, and that is what you call interdependency. Okay, to get real maturity in life, that interdependence is important, right? So another quote which I get impressed by Stephen Covey in this context particularly is, human life is interdependent. We can combine our talents and abilities and create something greater together. interdependent people combine their own efforts with efforts of others to achieve their greatest success. I think this is another very important statement which Stephen Covey has made. In this context, I would like to look at in Indian context how it is relevant. Now, dependence, independence, and interdependence. So these are some of the steps we can look at this. Nirbharta, Swatantra, or Anyonyasraya. I mean, I don't know whether it is correct Hindi. I just wanted to, but in Marathi we call it Paravlamban. That means dependence. In independence we call it Swavlamban, and in interdependence we call it Parasparavlamban, Anyonyasraya. Okay, but here you can see that the kind of experience which we have in Indian context. Let me take the example of parent-teachers interaction. Like, see, target is all-round development of child. Okay, here, of course, I mean, children, they entered in school as dependent. They take steps towards independence in all sense, not necessarily academics only. But when we talk in terms of all-round development, so we talk in terms of everything, not necessarily academics, but sports, personality, other social behavior, social development, intellectual development, everywhere, right? So, but then we have that kind of relationship when parents, they admit children in school. So they expect teachers should take the responsibility of developing them. Okay, so steps towards independent, first steps towards independent. Sometimes we'll find that parents, they withdraw from this challenging situation and they expect teachers to take that position. Okay, then sometimes what happens when teachers, like say teachers, when they look at child from their own perspective, that they are more concerned about vertical development of child. It's not a horizontal development, more of a vertical development. Okay, more related to academics. And they think that child is becoming independent, but that is not true. Okay, and then as we know, as a counseling, whatever call, I mean, if you have a target for psychotherapy or counseling, okay, so our target is interdependency, not only in self-dependency. That's not the only, independence is not the only target, but interdependence is a target. Now, how these parents and teachers, they interact with each other. Okay, right? See the relationship of this. Suppose if child asks very inconvenient questions, and that children, they do ask questions. Like, see, if you remember that in old days, we had a Hindi textbook, and in Hindi textbooks, there was one lesson called, the title was Nakhun Kyun Padte Hai. That was in the text, this Hindi text for school children. So Nakhun Kyun Badhte, this is a question raised by a child, maybe child who is 5 years, 6 years, or 8 years old. Okay, but then teacher, parents, they think that, I mean, they are supposed to answer this question. Okay, and if they don't know the answer of this question, it is not necessary that parents should know everything. But children, they do ask very unusual, very difficult, challenging questions like "Baal kyun badhte hai? Nakhun kyun badhte hai?" This kind of questions are asked by. But in Indian context, we follow this Western model, where Western model, parents in Western countries, particularly in US, UK, there's a possibility that they may take it as challenging for them. Your child is asking this question, and I, being a mother or I being a father, if I don't answer this question, so that means I'm not a good mother or I'm not a good father, right? So this is exactly what you call ego is involved in rearing children, right? Any question asked, or if your child misbehave somewhere in school or sports or anywhere, so parents are like to take responsibility of this, that child is misbehaved because I'm not a good parent. This is what you call ego involvement. Okay. Now, whereas in Japanese mother, because we consider ourselves as a part of Asian countries. In Japan, if this question is asked that why I should drink water, or why should it eat vegetable, or how my birth, how I born. Now, this kind of questions asked by children in say Japanese to Japanese mother. So Japanese mother says that maybe I am not comfortable answering your question, but she can take this child to teacher or a person who knows the answer. Okay, so she's not, her ego is not involved. Otherwise, she may, if ego is involved, there's a possibility that she may give wrong answer for this question, right? So she takes this child to teacher or to expert and repeat this question that see child is asking this question. Okay, so you are the expert in this, you answer this question to child. So here her ego is not involved. The parent's ego is not involved. Okay, so here we'll find that why I'm giving this example, because parent and teacher, that kind of interdependency is needed for this. Otherwise, parents, they think they're where they can develop their children independently, or teachers also say that we can develop children independently, but it requires that connectivity between parents and teacher, so that they will be able to help child acquire that real self, or what you call acquired matured personality. But the relationship between parents and teachers should be interdependent. Okay, so parents are dependent on teachers, teachers are dependent on parents to get to know exactly how to answer queries raised by the children. Now, this is the one example which I have given, and there it is again proved that how interdependency is important, how connectivity is important. Then marriage, if you see nowadays, it is being observed since last decade or so, or more than 2 decades. You will find that a separation rate or divorce rate is increased. But there's a demographic data available, and we'll find that where this separation or divorce rate is high. Okay, so you'll find that, I mean, husband and wife, as long as wife is dependent on husband for all financial matter or anything related to buying, purchasing, decision making, everything. So it is unfortunate part that a husband enjoy that kind of what do you call it? I don't know what, it's a prestigious situation for him that wife is dependent on him. Okay, but then wife, when she start getting employed, when she get employment and start earning and spend her own money, okay, so that itself create a lot of problems in their relationship, marriages. So we'll find that, I mean, separation and divorce is very high among those couple where wife has started working and started earning and spending her own money. Okay, of course, but here again, concept is interdependency, that husband and wife both should pursue that both are dependent on each other. That's the most important part. Okay, but here if she become independent, it is taken it as negatively by Indian husband. I'm not generalizing it, but we'll find this kind of trend among those who are getting separated and divorced. Okay, so most of the divorce or more separation taking place when wives start working and earning money. I would like to give one more example, and this is very important in Indian context again, person with disability, because that's a area which I have been working, and I really like to work with people with disability. And it is found that, I mean, we have very what you call charity model. Okay, charity model. We use different terminologies to refer them. Okay, like, you know, terminology earlier, so we had we used to call them Viklang, we used to call them Apang, we used to call them Bahira, Langda, Lula, whatever. There are different terminologies. Okay, but then now again there's another terminology which is now being used as called Divyang. Okay, now these are some of the terminologies. This is all related to charity. It has a charity approach. Okay, so disabled person, as long as he is dependent on you. Okay, so we enjoy that kind of satisfaction in relationship. When disabled person start earning and living his own life, then there's a problem. Okay, people, they may not accept them. People, because they enjoy that satisfaction of being dependent on others. Okay, lula hai, bahira hai, रहने दो, उसको थोड़ा काम मिलने दो, whatever it is. But what is my observation is that person with disability, when he start earning, okay, and they have expressed their emotions and feeling with us, stating that see, the first I remember the person who got employment. Of course, I mean, he started his life with dependency, physical dependency on parents, then teachers, and then everyone. I mean, school also, a lot of dependency, physical dependency on others, right? But after getting rehabilitated physically, okay, like all technologies available now, he got rehabilitated and he got job. And the first salary, when he got the first salary, and he brought that salary shown to us saying that I got my first salary, and now at the end of this financial year I will be in the income tax payers group. Now see, look at his way of thinking. He's saying that, sir, I am very happy because I am in income tax payers group now, so I can pay income tax, and by paying income tax his self is enhanced. And now he says that my economy is dependent on me. I am not only dependent on economy of this country, but economy also is dependent on me. So that kind of interdependency enjoyed by even people with disability, right? And then he says that I'm income taxpayer, I contribute to the total economy of this country, okay, and country's economy is also dependent on me, right? So this kind of interdependency leads to well-being, what you call it, social well-being, psychological well-being, mental health, whatever you call it, right? So these are some of the very important aspects which we need to understand, because many times instead of referring to our own neighboring countries, or what you call it, Asian countries like Japanese, how they have parenting, interdependency in parenting, okay, and that leads to social well-being and leads to mental health, okay. So instead of following this, sometimes our parents, they follow Western model. I'm not saying that Western model is completely bad, I'm not saying this, but sometimes, so they have different cultural pathways of social well-being, we have different cultural pathways of social well-being, so that pathways needs to be understood, okay. And then I think we will be able to play a very important role, and psychology of course has to play very important role in this context. Now this is just a picturized presentation how interdependency leads to security as well as well-being. Now here again there's a concept, because Stefan's concept is already explained how important to have this particularly maturity in interdependency. That's more important, interdependence, okay, like husband and wife, which example I had given, right? Now there's a concept which we'll find that, I mean, in contemporary Vietnamese Zen masters or Zen therapist, okay, and there they have used the term or coined the term interbeing to capture the idea of the interdependence of all things. Now here also I would like to make my point clear that country like ours, we are under developing country. In developing country, psychosocial aspects, you know, when we look at demographic variables, so our mental health, our social well-being, our mental well-being depend more on psychosocial aspects of our country. There are many policies or many social issues can disturb your mental health. Maybe economic crisis or economic constraint, financial constraint, lack of education, illiteracy, lot of discrimination, caste, community, religion, region. These are all issues which are very important and which affect our social well-being, right? And that's why to understand this, now when we talk in terms of intercultural aspect or multicultural aspects or interconnectivity or interbeing, this is a term used by Zen therapist. I think these are some of the very important aspects which we need to rebrush, because it is not that, I mean, it is completely like Indian or ancient Indian approaches are dormant at present. But if you rebrush or rethink about this, I think we'll be able to identify some of our own factors which can deal with our complexities which we experienced. Well-being, of course, I don't have to define well-being because you're all very learned participants here. I'm talking in a very broad way. Well-being is not only from emotional or whatever, social or whatever. I'm talking broad way well-being. It can be economic well-being also. It can be social well-being. It can be psychosocial well-being, or emotional well-being, whichever way. Okay, so, and then it can be also quality of life. It can be subjective experience, happiness, subjective well-being. Now you can use any terminology for this. Okay. So next, what if you think that, I mean, we enjoy that satisfaction. Sometimes we say that our unity in diversity. Okay, that's a concept we always showcase on different occasions, different platform. Okay, but then concern should be that although we have that unity in diversity, but do you really, because as far as our self-satisfaction is concerned, we use it. But the real concern is that these values, okay, let everyone be prosperous and let no one think about unhappiness of anyone. Do we really practice this? Are not being practiced fully. And the existing laws, which are we need that as we look at law as the external force to control us, so that the external force law also doesn't take complete note of this, what is happening. And that's why social well-being get affected, psychosocial well-being get affected. Okay, but just simply showcasing our unity in diversity is not going to help us in creating social well-being, right? So we have to go beyond that. Now, see, like culturally, because we are a developing country and there are developed countries. Now, developed countries, that independent mode of being is considered as most important part for their enhancement of their self, their well-being. But whereas in our context, particularly in Indian context, being a developing country, so our model, like see, interdependent mode of being is fostered in Asian culture context, and Indian context is very important. But if you see that last line which I have added here, India, it appears that the promotion of relational harmony, peace, okay, connectivity, avoidance of relational strain is considered to be more discretionary. Okay, although it is a part of our country, but we look at this as discretionary. As per our convenience, we look at this particular aspect. Okay, so this is just a point which I wanted to present before you. Okay, of course, I mean, I don't have to explain this because multiculturalism coming as a fourth force in psychology after, of course, I mean, psychoanalysis, behaviorism, and feminism is a school of thought. But in Indian context, I think this it is related to all developing countries. I think this multiculturalism as a force which is created for developing country. I look at this particular aspect from that angle. Okay, and that's why we need to understand this multicultural as a fourth force. And of course, I mean, it's not a very, it's just a 12-year-old concept, okay, which has been introduced, coined just 12 years back. Okay, but it is yet to be developed. It is yet to be understood in a proper manner. And it should be like, see, helping us when we have a diversity. And in diversity, to maintain unity in our diversity, the kind of connectivity which is required, the kind of value to differences, to value the differences. Now that kind of concept need to be understood, and this is very important. Particularly, I could not find, because in new educational policy, I think we are expecting that there should be link between what is happening in at international level. Okay, so multiculturalism, of course, I mean, life skills and all, I mean, they got consideration in new education policy, but the existing, while implementing new education policy, I think we need to apply this concept of multiculturalism as a fourth force which will definitely help us, okay, acquire that mental health or social well-being. So with this, I will stop. I said I will 25 to 30 minutes I will speak. So it is 25 minutes. I stop my presentation here, and we can have some discussion and some points from you, which will be helping us to also to think a little differently. Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. You have given a very excellent lecture on a very important topic. And now I will request the learned participants to please take part in the discussions.
May I come in? May
Yeah,
I come
please,
in?
sir.
Yes, yes.
Please, sir. Please, sir.
Yes.
Professor, your paper was excellent. I was listening to you, and you refer to charity model.
Right.
In addition to charity model, there are also welfare model, medical model, social model, empowerment model, individual model. Different models are also there.
Right, sir.
For the well-being of the disabled children or disability, what you referred, can other models also be made use of? Because each model has its importance. And you only refer to charity model. So is that model the best, or other models are also equally good?
No,
This
in
is
fact,
just-
in fact, sir, charity model, if you see, I have criticized it. I have not
yeah. No,
okay, charity model I have criticized. It is,
yeah.
I mean, they have every right to survive.
Yeah.
Okay, and disability is not something which the total being is affected.
Yeah.
Okay, there are many aspects which are intact. So with available technology, they can be completely independent. Okay, and like see, all of us, like say for example, disability concept. If you look at this, it is not something which is restricted to only people with disability. In fact, all of us, we are temporarily able-bodied. All of us, we are temporarily able-bodied. If I remove my glass, I will not be able to see your face clearly. So that's my disability. And this is a technology which I am using. Technology helps me to restore my functions. Okay. So same way, there are many, and then there should be right-based approach. What you said, model. So there should be right-based. The people with disability should have right to survive. They are human beings, and all rights which are applicable for other people with this ability, they also have right to work, right to educate, right to whatever. I mean, express themselves. Okay, so charity model is something which is people they like see they give that pity and charity. I think that's not the terminology used is more reflection of charity. Like Divyang is a charity model. Which is not acceptable to many researchers. Even people with disability, they don't like that.
Correct.
It is not like they're aliens coming from somewhere and then okay. So that's not. Some people they call it differently able. So that is also a term which is absolutely wrong.
No.
You cannot use a differently able term for them because it is not that they are aliens. They have developed that. Differently able means like a person who is visually impaired, but his attention or listening is very strong. But it is not that it is Divyang. It is he has developed this. He himself has developed this. Okay. It is not that it happened automatically. Right?
Yes.
Sir?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Nice of you.
Thank you, Dr. Pupsananda. You have just given good ideas and you presented very salient features. Now, any other person? Professor Rai.
Yes, sir. Professor Rai. Yes, sir. Yes. Good evening, sir. Yes.
Good evening, sir. Thank you, Dr. Gawali. In just a space of 25 minutes, you have very well presented and enlightened us with regard to importance of interdependence. And this is the best time that we need to talk again and again about interdependence.
Right.
Probably in 70s and 80s in India, we would not have required to talk about interdependence. That was almost universal in our life.
Right.
In our generation, in your generation, when we were quite young, to be dependent, to seek help, and to extend help was considered to be a virtue
Yes.
and taken very easily. What we see these days, the new generation, the youngsters in their 20s and 30s, now they just dislike to seek help. They just dislike to be dependent on others. So too much of individualism from American culture, European culture has entered their life. And importance of interdependence was too much in need during the COVID period.
Right.
Not only because people were ill, but also because many of our youngsters lost their job. They were not receiving full salary or part salary, or they were simply fired by their companies. So we need to somehow bring home point to these youngsters that interdependence is not something like an abuse the way they are thinking. And West has already started recognizing it. And 10, 20 years ago, proponents of positive psychology, Martin Seligman in his PERMA model,
Right.
is very well talking about relationships. So for us, the community psychologists, it is our responsibility to tell our youngsters that this is not the very right way to seek full independence, because in independence you will find yourself almost alienated,
Yes. Right.
isolated, and in times of crisis, you will not find four people
Right.
not to just support your last journey, but even before. Now young people, they are fully dependent on the market for all the purpose. If you have to go to the hospital, you have to get help anywhere, you have to go to the market for everything.
Right.
Even relationships are being marketed. If you need a nurse, there is no one in your home, in your family, in your larger family, in your relationship, who will come to your place and help. You have to hire a nurse for 20, 30, 40,000 rupees a month.
Right.
Okay. So just that very thing I just wanted to share with you in continuity of your very decent presentation and enlightening us. Thank you, Dr.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Yes.
Thank you, Professor Rai, for the addition. Now I request Professor Saxena sir to please give your observations and your points.
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, quite.
Very clearly. Very clearly.
Professor Gawali has presented a very nice paper, and I have also been talking about school-family partnerships. He has also talked about parent and teacher's role. Very good idea. And as a matter of fact, interdependence is the focal theme of community psychology.
Yes.
Because in community, wherever we live, interdependence is there. And even in organizations, when team is formed, it goes through 4 stages: forming, storming, norming, and performing. So performing team, that is because of interdependence.
Yes.
And those teams which are high on interdependence, they perform well. And not only that, recently there have been several studies about power distance and social distance in organizations. In American culture, there is no power distance and there is no social distance. Even the smallest employee can talk to the CEO and can place his ideas before him. And his ideas are also respected. So power distance and social distance are a minimum in American culture.
Right.
In Japan, power distance is there, but no social distance. Very unfortunately in our country, power distance and social distance are both at the highest ebb. So when power distance, social distance, this concept is there, interdependence is lacking.
Yes.
So this is my observation. And one more thing, there was a time when theory X was predominantly followed, but now theory Y is also. In theory Y, the leader feels that his subordinate is also intelligent, he also has some ideas, and his ideas are to be respected. So these are some of the points which I wanted to add. And every time I listen to Professor Gawali, I add something to my knowledge. And I listened to him for the first time in 2015 in Science Congress at Mumbai. And I listened to him there. Then at Mysore, I listened to him, and in several, so every time I listen to him, I add something to my knowledge, and I am so grateful to Professor Gawali for such a versatile person on different topics. Here, I'll also like to add one thing. When he talks about parent-teacher or school-family partnership, Castle model is to be adopted here. And Castle model is interdependence oriented.
Right.
Collaborative, academic, social, emotional learning. Today, schools and parents are focusing more on academic learning. And social emotional learning is important for well-being. And, social emotional learning parameters are very relevant to our well-being. So Castle model itself is an interdependence model where collaborative, academic, social, emotional learning, collaboration between whom? Parents and teachers, school and family. So these are some of my observations, and I am really grateful to Professor Gawali for giving a wonderful presentation, which has added to my knowledge. And his presentation will be available on YouTube also. So I listened to him more times. Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for giving more observations and adding more in the context which has been presented by Professor Gawali. And I express my sincere gratitude to Professor Gawali for sparing time for us and giving a wonderful lecture today. And